Do you remember when I came into your room like spring 2018 and was like, I want to make a platform for individuals with disabilities? And you were like, no. It only took her 6 months to realize I'm a genius.
And I remember months later, in like November, I came back into your room and I was like, hey, remember this idea you had? It might actually be a good idea, but let's change it around a little bit, because I remember that I specifically wanted it to feature people with facial differences, because I was like, hey, this might be a good idea. I haven't seen a lot of it.
You know what? Like I can get on board with that. I can do that because I can understand the value in that for the community. And then we were like, let's just make an Instagram page, and we're like, what if we call it like True Faces? Oh, and then the Instagram handle had to be taken TRUE
Yeah.
Faces. So we're like, wah wah wah.
I like vaguely remember picking out names too. I think it that also took us a while because we had some like not good ones, and then one of us mentioned True Faces, and it was like, yes, this is it. It was just like fireworks going off.
That's so funny. I don't even remember having other name suggestions. Like it's True Faces. It's what it's always been. It was perfect. It was about being authentic, being yourself, not hiding behind your disability, and connecting people with facial differences. November 1st, 2018, that's what it was all about.
Yeah,
Now it is November 1st, 2022, 4 years later. And I cannot believe how far we've come and the things that we've done and how it all stemmed from creating an Instagram page. I remember coming up with the logo too, even, and it was like this bubble background. And I was like, let me just put some words on it and put it up on Instagram. And that was that. And forever will be the first thing we posted and the first thing we came up with. But looking at where we are now with things like professional logos, multiple clothing products, and just the community and following that we have, it's so crazy to think about.
yeah. I remember you like Googling backgrounds too, being like, here, let me just find a picture on Google, and then let's just like slap our name on it. And there we go. We have a logo. And it wasn't even a logo either. It was just like a picture.
It was a
Nothing.
picture that said True Faces. And so today we're just going to spend a little bit of time reflecting on these 4 years and milestones that we've had in each of them. I think it's safe to say that if we were to start off with 2018, our biggest milestone is obviously developing this, coming up with the idea, everything from spring of 2018 to having the idea to actually putting it in motion in November, and really just connecting with the people that we knew and saying, hey, like we're starting this like little thing, like follow us, and then reaching out to a few of our friends to be like, would you want to like share your story on this page? I even remember us sitting down and making that first like really cringy YouTube video that was like, I'm Emily and I'm Hannah and this is like my name and what
I
the
never want to
disability
see
that I
that video
have.
again. Oh, that was such a cringy video. I hate seeing that.
Moving forward to 2019, what do you think was the biggest thing then?
Definitely t-shirts. That was crazy. That was a turning point, because we went from like an Instagram page with some like followers making like a bit of content to like being an actual business. And I don't think either of us kind of like realized what a big step that was, because that really changed the game of True Faces.
I feel like I don't even remember so much of this milestone because at this point I was living away from home at camp. And so it was pretty much Hannah and our mom who, you know, we knew the place that we wanted to work with because we had done stuff with them through like school and our curling club. But then, I don't even know what went on in the background. All of a sudden, you guys came up for a weekend and it was like, hey, here's a t-shirt. And I was like, okay, we did it.
Yeah, but I do remember you had a lot to do with like the logo design and stuff, because like you would just like send me stuff being like, hey, what do you think of this logo? And that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And you just had constant ideas that you were throwing at me. And then eventually it all kind of came together into a cool t-shirt design.
It's funny. I actually was explaining the like disability part to a group who I was speaking to recently, And I don't even think we ever actually like sat down and explained why our shirts underneath where it says True Faces says disability, but the dis is crossed out. And I've actually had to like explain to people because there's kind of been a bit of a misconception. A lot of people think it's like, oh, we talk about how disability can be a bad word. And I feel like for us, we don't see it as a bad word. But we wanted our logo to reflect focusing on the ability rather than the disability. So focusing on the things that we can do, not the things we can't do. But we didn't just write ability underneath. We kept the dis there because we do think there's still value in it being a disability and embracing that word and having this kind of acceptance that comes along with it. So it wasn't just let's write ability because yes, we're focusing on the things we can do. It was we're going to keep the word. We want people to focus on, the fact that potential is endless. We can do whatever we want. We're totally capable, but still keeping the word there because there's so much value and power and meaning behind the word. I am somebody with a disability, and embracing that and accepting that and being a part of this community that's so much bigger than yourself. So like, on a deeper note.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like we were young back then too, right? So like I think that we've definitely learned some lessons, like, because a few months later, yeah, we learned of like some people were like, hey, disability means like a bad word, and there's definitely some like misconceptions around the disability part on our t-shirts. And so I think that we've like learned some lessons of like, hey, we have to make sure that people understand our message without having to explain it to them so much, and just being kind of more careful about those possibly misleading things.
Dude, you were like 13 when we started this.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
I mean, like you were going on 14, but the concept that you were like a baby.
Yeah.
This is what I mean when I say youth have so much potential, because like I said, I like had kind of the basis original idea, but Hannah was like, let's take action, let's do this, and had like the formation behind it. You were so young.
Yeah,
a baby, guys.
I want to take us back for a second. If I remember correctly, when you brought up the original idea of True Faces, hadn't you seen like somebody else doing like an Instagram or Facebook page where they were like sharing someone else's story? Like I feel like you got inspiration from another page.
I definitely did. I think it was the UCAN page, because I was getting really involved with them, writing some different blog posts about my life and things that I was doing. And yeah, I feel like it definitely stemmed from like, there's definitely other platforms sharing disability stories, and wanting ours to be specifically, having this kind of advocacy piece with this like community piece, and how they can kind of work together.
At the beginning, like it was just us asking our friends if they wanted to share their life story on our Instagram page. And it was, those friends that we were asking these favors of that kind of kick-started our Instagram page. And even today, it's our friends far and wide that are keeping it going. Like a lot of the people that we work with, we know personally, like our ambassadors, we know them personally, we're friends with them, and it really is community built.
And even thinking about, our first partnership, I think 2019 was also our first big partnership where we partnered with the CNIB market, and started exploring this e-commerce platform of somewhere that we could share our products. And it was our first kind of like, oh, there's people who want to work with us. There's people who want to kind of connect and support us and see us grow. And we kind of realized this access to network and resources that we had.
Yeah, and like thinking about all of these things, I start to see how we have had some failures and successes, and even more like lessons learned. Like we've done like partnerships with people where it doesn't really work out or something, or sometimes we reach out to someone and they don't answer, and that kind of thing. And like sometimes things don't work out the way we want them to, or sometimes we kind of like find better ways to do True Faces, if that makes sense, like better ways to market our t-shirts or something.
High five to us. We keep doing it. So that's, I think, like the bulk of 2019 was we started reaching out to people. We did our very first speaking engagement at our local elementary school, in front of 200 students. We had our first e-commerce platform, our first product. That was like the big 2019 where we were like, maybe we can do this. We're like, maybe we've got this. And then, 2020 rolled around, we hit pandemic.
I don't want to say it slowed down, but I feel like it was very like at a standstill. We weren't
It was
really
definitely
growing.
a lull. We were doing features, we were doing t-shirts. We weren't necessarily doing anything new. We were just kind of, I think, doing True Faces.
Yeah.
I remember our like quarantine video where we were like, okay, Hannah and I have so much time together, let's film these videos. We like made a fort. We were like living up our best quarantine life. We were making like cooking videos. I mean, I can't watch any of them right now.
That was absolutely like the YouTube era.
It definitely was, because we had so much time together that we were like, what else are we gonna do? I think the thing that sticks out to me for 2020 was October, when we had our good friend Taylor come over and she filmed a True Faces documentary. Yes, it still hasn't been released yet. It's coming eventually, guys, I promise. But Taylor, who was a film student at Sheridan at the time, came to our house and was like, we're gonna do like a 5-minute documentary on True Faces. And I don't know about you, but for me, this was like, oh my God, like somebody thinks we're valuable enough to film us. I was like, wow. I was like, maybe we did do it.
Yeah, and like always hearing from people that were like making a difference in their lives and stuff is always like baffled me. And especially when it came to this documentary and like hearing Taylor be like, hey, you guys have a really cool story, I want to share it, being like, oh my God, you actually like care about what we're doing.
Going forward quickly to 2021, you kind of already mentioned it, our ambassador program. 12 a.m. Emily's laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and she was like, what if we used our community, allowed them to be a bigger part of True Faces? And what if we like came up with an ambassador program? And I messaged Hannah the next morning and I was like, what if we came up with an ambassador program? She goes, okay. Like the lack of enthusiasm I got from this girl about my ideas, I was like, maybe it's not a good idea. Second guessing everything. Was it worth second guessing, Hannah?
It was. I usually do have to second guess your ideas because you just come to me with the craziest ideas that like I need a moment to think about them. I have to think about if they're like realistic, if they're doable, and kind of like Emily dreams big, Hannah has to think rational. Right?
I'm the big dreamer. She's the like logical, like, are you out of your mind? Keep me sane.
Yeah. But I remember that for me, I was thinking at this point, because 2020 had been like a lot of stalemate in terms of like growth and big new ideas, in my opinion anyways. I remember that with this True Faces program, I was like, well, you know what, like it might take some of the stress off of us, because the two of us, we were doing a lot and we were enjoying it, but we were also coming out of the pandemic, and that like coming out of quarantine specifically, we were continuing our lives, right? Like, we were both going places, so we kind of needed some extra help and extra support.
And so the idea of bringing in, I mean, when we were talking about it originally, we were like, okay, maybe we'll bring on like 10 to 13 people. We were like, we'll just bring on, like, I knew I had a few friends who were looking to get more involved. We were like, yeah, like 10 people sounds like a good number. A month later, we had 23 applications, and we were like, what do we do with all of these people? We were like, do we have to have a selection process now? Like, are we still sticking to the 10? And then eventually we just decided that the funding we had gotten from a partner organization, the sponsorship, we were like, well, we can still fund like sending everybody a shirt of these 23 people. And lo and behold, we did just that. And we started a program that, we met every month. They were helping us come up with content and features. We had a little group chat, and we were really developing like a deeper sense of community with these 20 people. And like Hannah said earlier, like these people are our friends. They're our people, our community.
Yeah, and I remember as soon as I said like, yes, let's do this ambassador program, you like kicked it into high gear. You were like, okay, here's the form that we have, here are the questions that we're going to ask, here's how we're going to find funding for it. And you just like you worked so hard, and I was like, Emily, how are you doing all of
I
this?
took it
Like,
and I ran. I remember I was like basically done this. So this was my first year of college, and I was like basically done school at this point. And I was like, I need something else to do before I have to go off to work. And so yeah, I basically put every moment of time I had into creating this. And it was definitely a lot of work, but it definitely also came with a big reward because once I got the program started, then I had all of these people in our back corner who, like Hannah said, were like taking this weight off of us a little bit and really helping out. And I'm so thankful for them every day.
I remember like they were so excited to do stuff. Like when we brought them on as ambassadors, they were like, they had ideas left and right. And after like us having no big ideas for a while, like it was like True Faces itself was kicked into high gear. Like we had content coming out left and right. We had literally too many ideas that
There's
we like
still,
couldn't. Yeah, just more ideas coming because
they're
you had
still
like,
so excited every day.
yeah.
It is immaculate. Along came 2022 ambassador program round 2. Another like 15 applications came in. We had ambassadors who were taking steps back. We brought in all these new people. Yeah, I think there's about 15 of them. I think we were at about 25 at this point, and then we had a couple more kind of drop off. And we had this whole group of people, new energy, let's go, fired up, and still building these new connections and whatnot. The energy just kind of revived itself. We introduced our ambassador lead, Campbell, so somebody to actually head the program, schedule meetings, because I was realizing now that the pressure, the time, the work was coming back onto me from starting this, and I was like, whoa, I need some additional help and somebody who's willing to put in that extra work with me. So round 2, just as big of a success, if not more. I have never had so many features lined up in a row.
Yeah.
I believe at one point there was literally a 3-month wait to be featured, which is wild. We've also at this point featured just under 200 people.
Wow. I've definitely like thought a few times being like, what happens when we run out of features? But I don't know how we haven't yet. Like it just keeps coming.
They just keep coming. This was a really long process that I think started in like May, but new products. So at the end of 2020, 2021, beginning of 2022, I got connected to the my college's Center for Entrepreneurship. We got a mentor who actually has business experience, because let's be honest, I have none of that. And he was like, why don't you have more products? Why do you just have the one shirt? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. Our shirts were just kind of the thing. Like I didn't even consider us like a small business or anything. I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, here, we'll set you up on this online Shopify platform and let's get you new products. So all of a sudden the inquiry started. I was like, what can we get? What should we put on it? And then we won a pitch competition, which allowed us to get some different gift cards, prize packages, one of which was with Staples. Okay. Rebranding. All of a sudden, Emily's dinky little Instagram graphic, bubble background with words on it, flew out the door. And I think that was the best decision that we could have made for us, because that logo was horrific. So we got Staples on board. We got a new logo. I'm so happy with the new logo because I think it represents our 3 pillars perfectly, as well as both our representation for visible and invisible disabilities, and showing that just there is a person behind the disability. And I feel like you can just interpret it so many different ways. It's so beautiful.
And I think that when we created our new logo, I think it really was like, hey, we're True Faces, but it really like gave an idea to everyone else of who we are. Whereas like when we first started out with like our original logo, it was just kind of like True Faces. But I feel like our new logo kind of explains who we are, because I think that now we have a better idea of who we are, what True Faces stands for, what we are and what we're not. And I love our logo because it does really kind of explain us so well.
2022 so far has been a whirlwind of the new logos, the pitch competitions, accessing new supports, connecting to different organizations and getting actually paid speaking engagements, and really feeling like entrepreneurs.
Another great thing about having the ambassador program is that we have, I'm trying to think of the word, but we have kind of like a test audience, I guess, where it's like we can give them new ideas and it's like, hey, what do you think of this? Like when we were creating our new logo, obviously like me and you were immediately like, we're doing this, but we kind of showed it to them first and they were like, hey, we love it, and then we put it out.
The feedback from them was so good. The amount of comments that were just like, yes, 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 we love it, like sold.
Yeah. And then like when we started thinking about new merch too, and like hoodies and hats and lanyards, they were like, yes, we want this, we need this. And so we immediately
even when we introduced the second color of t-shirts, I think it was between like red, purple, and green. And I remember putting a poll in our like group chat and I was like, what color do you guys want? Like, what do you feel the most? And it came down to like purple and green, but overall like purple won. And then we listened to them and we were like, okay, we're going with purple. Now we have purple shirts.
Yeah. And like they all kind of, because True Faces represents multiple disabilities, which can be a very big group. It's good to have the ambassadors because they all represent kind of their own subgroups. Like I represent the facial difference community and like other ambassadors represent their other communities. So it's kind of nice to have that diversity and be able to kind of create closer connections with the smaller communities.
What do you want to see in the
future? We get asked this like a lot. Like we're all like, before you know it, we're gonna be at 5 years. And I remember when we were first starting out in like interviews and stuff, they asked us what we thought that we'd be doing in 5 years, and we're actually getting up to that, which is crazy. I don't want to think about that just yet, but in the future, okay, I haven't thought about this too much, but the fact that True Faces is still here after 4 years, I am incredibly proud of. So that's what I want in the future. Even if it's like passing the baton on to someone else, like I want True Faces to outlive us, kind of thing.
Some things I would like to see is, we've talked like about our kind of programming aspect, and really it's just the ambassador program right now. We've tested a couple like live events. I would love for us to have more of, especially now coming out of a pandemic, a like in-person events presence. And whether that's like, I mean, if I were to dream big, I'd be like, I want us to like have a space that somewhere that we like use and operate out of. I mean, like I would love for us to have paid employees. I would love to have somebody to be like a social media manager, but that's like so far out there that like seems crazy. But also if you think about where we are now, it's not as crazy. I'd love to see us have some more presence on like other social media platforms. I'm working on like LinkedIn, and we try Twitter, and still expanding on those other platforms, something like a Facebook group where multiple people can kind of post and general community members can have more interaction with. I think could be beneficial for us. More colors, more products. But again, if that's happening, it can't just live in our basement or Hannah's room while she's away at college. So, thinking about what does that look like for us going forward.
Yeah, I definitely like to have more like programming and stuff because, with the ambassador program, we're able to connect more individually with people in our community. And I always love meeting new people because that's what we're all about, right? Is community. And, we've done it through featuring people on our page. And I just like to sometimes get to know people more like one-on-one and like talking and stuff. So I'd like more programming.
I'm really excited. I would like to thank anybody who made it this far on the video, who's made it this far on our journey. If you've been here since day one, I thank you so much for your continued support. If you've only been here for a day or two, I still thank you for your support. None of this is possible without obviously the other people involved, the community, the people who share their story, the people who are in our ambassador program, every single person involved, and we're thankful for all of you. If you have a minute, comment below what your favorite part of the True Faces journey has been so far. Share with us. We love hearing those kinds of things, and we really look forward to what's coming. Thank you for being here. We love you all, and we'll see you next time.